Alright guys, with both versions of the games kind of winding down right now, on the JP version of the game, we are at the last week of the collaboration event with the arcade version of the game, which, is basically just farming and whatnot, just kind of finishing up the event. And then over on NA, we have Grailfront, which is not the most hyped thing on the planet. I thought I'd go ahead and take the time to bring back the Low Star Legends series. Well, I say bring back, it's never, been gone, it's just things got really busy for a little bit. But I especially wanted to do this because Lost Belt 6 is right around the corner over on the NA version of the game. For us over here, it's about a month away, and a servant that's going to get really good during Lost Belt 6 is going to be Caster, a low rarity servant. Now, he is also a story lock servant, but thankfully he's going to be on a very high banner alongside Morgan, Bawabon Sith, and Bargus. So people will probably get to pick up extra copies of this guy. And because I know it's going to be really busy and I might not be able to fit in a time slot to do a video for this guy, because we'll be talking about Morgan and all these other really hyped characters, I figured I'd go ahead and get him done early because honestly he does deserve it, right? He's going to be a very good free-to-play buster farmer for a lot of people, because if you don't have somebody that's decent enough that has a 30% battery or has a 50% battery, even to go with Koyanskaya, Caster is going to be your guy because he can definitely get the job done. But before we start breaking down this guy's stats and skills and telling you why he's good, especially with his newest buffs, make sure you leave a like on the video and you subscribe to the channel, because even if the game is really slow, your boy is still going to be out here doing daily FGO content to keep the game alive. I'm basically Atlas carrying the game on my back. Okay, maybe not that intense, but if you just need that FGO content itch, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Also, if you want to see me play the game live, I do that every weekday starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Although this upcoming week might be a little bit weirder when it comes to doing streams, because I will be visiting some family for the next week, 2 weeks, because my sister is graduating. So congratulations to her, but I'm also not going to be home and having my usual setup. I'll still try to stream as much as I can. But you know the deal, family comes first. But regardless, let's go ahead and start diving into Caster's kit, starting off with his hits. And he is indeed a year 1 servant, so there's really nothing here to write home about. His natural NP gain is really good, but with 1 hit on all of those arts cards, I'm not really going to be fiending for those massive swings in NP generation. Even my guy's extra attack cannot be saved. 3 hits, that is absolutely pathetic. But thankfully, they made all of his skills very powerful to kind of compensate for the fact that he doesn't really have good enough hits to really carry him. So we're going to kind of skip talking about the hits, really, because, again, as you guys just saw, there's really not a whole lot to write home about here. He's a year 1 servant. What do you want from him? But starting off with his first skill, this was one of the things that really did help him out a lot, because this was already a decent enough skill, I guess you could say, for a year 1 servant. 50% crit damage for 3 turns, and then 50% debuff resistance for 3 turns was nice enough. It meant that a lot of random debuffs that would come his way, he could whiff on a coin flip chance usually, and then he also was able to do some very nice crits if you could somehow find a way to provide stars for this guy. Nowadays, it's not going to be as hard because we're going to get Koyanskaya, and Koyanskaya, on top of being an assassin that has really good natural star gen, can also just bomb stars on some of her skills. So you can actually take advantage of this really good crit damage. But speaking of Koyanskaya, that 30% battery that they added on here does pair very nicely with Koyanskaya and is why you can use Caster as your buster farming servant, because he is compatible with her as long as you also have Oberon. Because you're going to need that extra 70% that Oberon is giving, as opposed to another flat 50%, because this is 30%. You need that extra 20 to make it last 50 because of how buster farming works. I've been thinking about doing a video talking about the Koyanskaya system to really just, I don't know, have a way to point to people, be like, okay, look, if you're confused as to why 30% need Oberon but 50% don't, here, go look at this video, right? I'll make a whole video breaking down the system. Maybe I'll do that closer to when she drops. But yeah, you will need somebody like Oberon that can offer a little bit extra, but he can still get the job done. And I'm assuming most people are still going to pull for Oberon anyway, so it's not a tall order to ask people to do, to be like, oh yeah, if you need to use Caster because you don't have somebody better, well, you can use him with Oberon. Regardless, very strong opener skill. His second skill is the Coup Dodge skill that we all know and love. I'm expecting this one to get buffed sometime in the near future, because while the 3 hits of evasion are very good, that are not restricted by turn count, meaning they will always be able to be used and they won't disappear for any reason unless you actually take damage, I just feel like there needs to be one last thing thrown on here. I'm hoping for something like a special damage mod, maybe something that's like man or earth, something like that where it's very generic. I don't really know what they would actually give Kucaster. I have speculations, but I don't want to get into stuff for like Lost Belt 6 because my NA players probably don't want to be spoiled on that one. But I'm hoping they throw on something like that, or maybe if they want to be really cheeky, maybe he could just bomb 30 stars to really just take advantage of that first skill. Because if he bombs like 30 of them or something in conjunction with Koyenskaya, who can also drop 20 herself, that's just like 50 stars to start off with on turn 1. That's not the worst thing in the world when you're also a really good Buster AoE farmer. It'd be like a nice little extra thing that he could do. But who knows, I'm still praying that he gets like a special damage mod or something. But finally, there's his third skill. This is probably the one that more of the NA player base are kind of more excited for, because this is a huge skill that he gets during Lost Belt 6. Now, this does pair very nicely with some of the defensive tools that he already has on his second skill, but this also gives him debuff cleansing, and it gives him a nice little heal. On top of that, he's also getting a guts that does activate the turn after you press the skill, which can be really nice in longer fights, because if that guts is procced, you get an 80% battery, basically saying you will auto-fire your NP, and then Ku will then sacrifice himself and leave the field, which can be very, very nice and can be kind of clutch in certain runs if you're trying to use Caster Ku. But the nicer thing is that they gave him a huge 30% attack buff, which he really did need, because if we look at his NP, the only thing he really had going for him in terms of damage was that he was stacking a 20% Buster buff that procced first every time he fired his NP, but that is only one buff type. That's not really going to be enough to make him a good farmer, so at least now he is stacking Buster damage, getting stronger with every single NP, and that Buster buff is going to be multiplying into his attack buff to give him even more damage. At some point here, the NP damage chart should be showing where I'll be highlighting Ku's attack. That is where he starts out, actually. So even if it looks like he's more like middle of the pack when it comes to Buster AoE guys, for one, he's one of the few people that actually has a battery that can do Buster looping, but then at the same time, he's also getting stronger and stronger with every single NP, because he is getting that 20% Buster buff that is stacking every time he fires his NP. If you're doing more difficult content, you'll see an even further increase in damage, because he's also lowering their defense by at least 10% every turn for 3 turns. Well, I guess not every turn. Now, that's assuming you're firing the NP back to back to back to back to back, which you should be able to do with people like Koyenskaya and Oberon, but you get what I'm getting at. So the guy can definitely put in a lot of work. He can be a very solid free-to-play Buster AoE guy. Again, I know if you like even look at his NP5 numbers, it's like, well, that's still not super high, but for someone who is rather cheap to use and you can just get on very hype banners, and as someone that will probably just come to you for free as an NP5 3-star servant, I would say that it's really not bad. And again, these are the low-star legends, right? Like, these are not like the 5-star, you know, you gotta get this guy. They're the premium best units in the game. This is like a guy that can be a very good side option for you if you just don't have someone that's able to put in the work. Because let's say that your best Buster AoE person is Drake. Well, Drake is going to be really good against, like, you know, your casters and everything. But let's say you run into Assassins, which he's probably not going to be able to clear. Then you can whip out this guy, Ku Caster. He comes in and starts saving the day. So he could just be a solid option for certain wave clears if you don't have someone else that can take that stuff out. So don't discount him. Very, very solid guy. Not the most broken person on the planet, but again, for a 3-star servant, really, really strong. Very strong guy that also has some applications in more difficult content because of how his third skill can work and because he still has the notorious Ku dodge skill. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. As an NA player, are you looking forward to getting this guy and then getting his third skill buff, which will also help him out a lot? Or do you think this guy is absolute hot dog water and you should just throw him in the bin immediately? Let me know. Don't say that. That's mean. Don't say that to Ku. He's good, I swear. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace, late guys.